like Ms. Spurtle was saying, I'm Ben Hunter. I'm Abby's dad. I work at Google at the moment, but I have worked at other companies too. So we went to America. We went to work for Microsoft. I used to work for them in New Zealand. Then I worked for Amazon, doing all the similar stuff to do at Google. So I've worked in lots of big companies. So you were talking about the garage. Yeah. I remember when they built the very first one, and now they've got the other ones all over the US now, and they're pretty neat. So you guys will love that as well. So today I'm going to talk about some cool things that we do at Google. And what I want you to do is ask questions, because when you get there, you want to have lots of really good questions to ask the people. You know, so when you're at Google and you're talking to different people, you can ask lots of questions. When you're at Google in particular, there's 2 students who are here who will be looking after you when you're there. So these are kids who went to Northcote Intermediate and then went on to work for Google. So maybe one day you could go and work for us. Okay, so let's go in here. So this is the very first Google office. They literally did it in a garage. It was 2 guys called Larry and Sergey who set up Google in this garage. And the person whose house it was is now the person who runs YouTube. So it was her house and she let them use the garage, and then eventually she started working for them, building Google, and then she ran YouTube. So does everyone here know what YouTube is? Yeah. Has anyone been on YouTube today? Everyone knows YouTube, don't you? Because Google owns YouTube as well, so that's one thing that's Google. So that's the very first one. How many employees do you think Google has? How many people work for Google?
Like maybe 155,000.
Close, a little bit less. What do you reckon?
1,000.
A bit more than that. There's a couple of thousand just in Australia.
150,000.
It's getting closer, but it's still a little bit lower.
8,700.
Up a lot more. I'll tell you in a second. We'll go one more. My neighbour is all the pressure.
29,000.
That's really close. It's 109,000. So it's quite a lot, and they're all over the world, including Auckland and Wellington here. So there's lots of us. I'm obviously in this office, but literally 140 offices all around the world. So you could go anywhere. People from my office, a girl I work with, this is her last week in New Zealand. She's going to go work in the London office. We've got another girl I work with is going to California, where you're going. She's working down here. We've got a lot of friends who work in Seattle for Google, so they're all over the place.
Where's the other one in the United Kingdom? That's just 2 dots on there.
Oh, that's actually in Ireland. That's Dublin. There's a lot of people. I don't know how many work there, but it's a really big amount of people. So you can go and work anywhere in the world if you're working for Google. I don't think Abby wants me to move at the moment again, though. Okay, so working at Google, we get to do all sorts of really cool stuff. So how many people do you think use the web? A lot, is that true? How many do you say?
5 billion something?
It's about 2 billion people use the web. 2 billion. How many do you think use YouTube?
2 billion.
Close, 1.8 billion. Almost everyone uses YouTube, which is funny. So you've got lots of people using the web, and Google's building all sorts of things for the web. How do you think it would be if you didn't have Google, or if you couldn't search things when you're doing your projects and that type of stuff? Yeah, we used to have to go to libraries.
What's a library?
Exactly. When you wanted to find something, you had to go and open an encyclopedia. It's so easy now.
The information was basically part of the library.
It feels like that now. So you'd go to the big Auckland library maybe if you really wanted to find something. But it was really hard. Now it's really easy. And I'm always Googling. I actually think one of the best skills you can have is learning how to search properly. Because when you can figure out how to search, like the news stuff that you're doing, the homework, that's really about searching, in my opinion. So we have lots of products that have over 1 billion people using them. Can you name one? You use them every day.
Google Docs, Google Slides, Google Sheets, Google Forms, Google
Drive.
Drive, yeah. God, this is the best. I've had asked this question to lots of companies, and you guys are better. Google, yes, Android. Well, let's put them out. So you got that one? You got that one? Maps. Did anyone mention maps? How would you live without maps? We used to have to actually carry these things that had paper.
What's all paper?
I know. And then you would have one like just for Auckland. Play. players for that. You got Android, you mentioned Android for the phone. Drive, and the last one is just had 1 billion users using it now, is Google Photos. Where you store all the photos and stuff. So now all the people, you've got it, so everyone's building this in the back, all the cool things. I like photos, so I'll pick on Abby a little bit. It will tell me from when Abby was a little baby till now, and I can click on it and it will show all the photos that has Abby in, no matter how old she is. It just recognises, and they do, have you heard of AI, artificial intelligence?
Yeah.
Or machine learning?
Yeah.
This is really big now, and it uses, a lot of our products use this artificial intelligence to have really cool features. One I like at the moment is when you're typing in your Gmail, it suggests things. It auto-completes you.
And
it
Drive as well. Like,
yeah.
Type
Exactly.
documents or like live research keyword, they will come up with all the titles that you like created there.
Yeah, exactly. So in behind that is lots of people who make all of the stuff. The guy who, the autocomplete thing where it suggests how you should write, is actually a guy in the New Zealand office, is the main guy who looks after that. He wanted to move back home from Silicon Valley to New Zealand, and he looks after that. So that's pretty cool. So at Google, there's, in terms of jobs, so you think, okay, we're going to go to Google, you're going to see lots of cool stuff, maybe you might want to work there. But there's lots of different jobs you can do. You don't just have to be a programmer. Like in my office, there's people who look after the advertising. There's a lady who does events for YouTube, so they do all the YouTube creators. You know your YouTube creators. They make events for New Zealand creators, and so they do all YouTube road shows, and I steal stuff from here. Abby's got like a YouTube bottle like that because she has neat swag and stuff, and cool things. But there's lots of other people. There's people who design and think up the ideas. There's the software developers who are creating. That's what you may think at Google that there's a lot of. There's people who make sure that the interface you're using, so if you're using maps, they make it as easy as possible to use. And there's lots of stuff. There's people who do sales, there's YouTube people, but there's a big wide range of jobs. My job, I go around and help companies like Air New Zealand and other companies. When I was in America, I used to help Netflix and help them build Netflix and make sure that worked all the time for you. So I'd go in there and show them how to do stuff. So there's lots of different jobs. So one of the things I want to talk about here is life at Google as well. Life at Google is pretty cool. Abby came into the office the other day. She was very impressed with the snacks. Weren't you, Abby?
Yeah, there was like the healthy drawers were at the top, and it goes down and down, like more unhealthy, and they always hid like the unhealthy stuff. But
yeah.
People always got to.
So we have a chef in the office, and the chef makes us our lunches and our breakfasts, and if you want dinner, they'll make you dinner as well. So mostly I have dinner at home. But we have a chef in the office, and our big offices around the world have lots of restaurants inside where all the food is free. And then you can get haircuts there. They will do your laundry for you. They have massages.
Why don't you just live in Google? That makes
A lot of people do actually. We have jokes in the office, especially in America, that people don't know how to cook. Because on a long weekend when the office is closed, they don't know what to do because they can't cook. Nobody's doing their washing for them and the dishes. So they do all these things, and then they have snacks. They have like the snack drawer. So at the top, they have all the healthy snacks, like nuts and healthy bars and stuff, and you go down, and at the bottom it's like Whittaker's chocolate and Mentos and gummy bears and stuff like that. And in the fridges, they have healthy drinks at the top, and then they hide the bottom half. So it's all hidden with, frosted glass, and there's the Coca-Cola and that kind of stuff in the bottom. Because they want you to eat healthy. Otherwise people get pretty unhealthy. So. What's that?
But there's always that option.
Yeah, if you need some sugar, if you need a Red Bull or something like that, which sometimes you do, you can get one of those. So here's a picture of one of the offices. They have all these different spaces so you can work. You don't just work at your desk. People work all over the buildings. Because sometimes, it's like in here, you wouldn't want to just be on a desk all the time. You have different shaped places you could work. So Google has big offices with different places you could work. There's an example of a room with people working on different things. This one, there's some planning. We have a really big focus on innovation as well. They want you to come up with new ideas. I like this whiteboard. I was just reading it. It does mention New Zealand here. It also has Buy YouTube on there, which they've done. The next one says Rule the World. I don't know if that's really in the plan. Or a Killer Robot Research Centre. They like you to come up with funny ideas. If you use Gmail, I use Gmail. That was one guy who thought email wasn't very good. And so on the side, they give you 20% of your time at work to do whatever you want. He came up with the idea for Gmail and started building it, and they decided to make it a product, and now there's over 1 billion people using it. So anybody can do that. That was just a guy in there who felt like it was a good idea. So they let you do these kind of really cool things. And the focus is trying to give you lots of time so you can have big ideas and actually make them happen. So there's more pictures of the office. This one's relatively interesting. This one we have games rooms in the office as well. This one's a pool table, that's not quite so interesting, but we have all sorts of other things. We have rooms with all arcade games and Xboxes and that type of stuff in the office. This one's from Sydney. They got a train and they put it inside the office. Long ago in Sydney they used to have a big monorail that went around the centre of the city. When they closed it down, they bought one and they had to take all the windows off the side of the building, a big crane, put it in and shoved it in the side of the building. Which is pretty cool. And at the front it's quite cool. You can see all the buttons are still there so you can pretend you're driving it. I'm sure most people do that. Go on a little bit more. This is our Sydney office as well.
That's lit.
That doesn't look that comfy, but these ones look pretty good.
Oh my gosh, I want one of those.
Yeah, I know, and they have sleep pods in the
What
office.
the-
So you can have a nap if you want during the day. I think you need these at school, don't you?
Yes.
How do you work? How do you work with the sleep? Is there an unhappy?
You don't, that's for sleeping. Or they have this one.
So you live there.
So you have to be quiet in these rooms though. They have special rooms where you have to be super quiet.
What if you snore?
Looks like an alien
It's
space.
a good question, I don't know. But yeah, they have all different ones. In the Sydney office, they have one room you go in, it's just full of plants and there's a waterfall in the corner and you can go and sit in there and do some work. It's just, they have different styles. Yeah.
And that's how all these groups are showing us in New Zealand, or these.
These are different ones from around the world. New Zealand, we've got a small office, so we don't have as much of this cool stuff. But we will get a new office in a year or so where they're building a bigger office next door to our one currently, and we'll have some stuff like this. But these are, this one I think is in Spain. I'm trying to remember where this one was. The last one, they have these in Sydney, and they have another room which is just like you go in and it's all dark, and they've got like almost beds in there. I heard in Korea they have you seen those Japanese hotels, you know, the pod hotels where you go in? Capsule, that's the one. They have those in the Japan office. Not Japan, Korea. I don't know what's in the Japan office.
How do you have time to space if you're working?
Hey, yes, this is a good point. So they give you all the stuff, but why do you think they give you this stuff?
So you can work better.
Yeah, they want you to have if you look at, I'll go back here, they want you to have fun. I saw fun somewhere, who knows where that's gone now. But they want to give you areas where you can collaborate, have a great place to work. But the trick was they want you to be all of yourself, so they don't want you to worry about what others think. They want you to give you areas where you can do this stuff and relax and work whatever's comfortable for you. But they do still expect you to work. It's a different environment. You're not at your desk with people watching you going, are you working, and checking how much time you've done. They expect you to do it, and they give you lots of things around this. And if you need to go off and think, in Sydney office there's a really cool room. I'm not musical, but you go down in the middle of the office, there's a spiral staircase that goes down, you go down the spiral staircase and there's a music room, which is about half of the size of this room, and they've got all the padding on the walls, and they've got guitars and amps and drum kits and all every instrument you can. So I went there with one of my customers the other day, or a couple of months ago, and he was a musician and he saw the guitars and he was like, and he thought it was crazy because all the best things. So people go down there and they have a jam session and play, or maybe they do it after work, and it's about just being yourself and at work, and yeah.
Is it like easy to get a job in Google, or it's like,
I would say, people say Google's one of the harder companies in the world to get a job for, but I think, so I hire, one of my jobs is I interview lots of people to come and work at Google, and when I see people coming from New Zealand, they do really well with Google. They like you to have lots of skills. Like New Zealanders tend to be very good at that. So it's not easy, but it's certainly a job you can do if you study hard and just. I like the idea of you like to think big.
yeah.
And I'll show you a video later on about what we call something called moonshot thinking, which is thinking really big. But yes, it's a good place to work. It's hard to get to, but it's achievable. I got there. So, and I don't think I'm any smarter than any of you guys. What's that?
I'm gonna apply right now.
Shit. Yeah, well, you can find out. They have school stuff as well. So Okay, so there was the train. Let me go back forwards here, back through all this stuff. Oh yeah, they have this hammocks in the office as well. I thought that was pretty cool. I want that in the Auckland office. And this is a favourite. This is from Sydney. So we have a VR room in the office, which is pretty cool. He's playing, I don't know what he's playing, something with zombies. I can't do this though because I get sick when I put those VR things on. But, so that's a big room that goes all the way out, and they've got these stripes on the wall, so the VR works really well. But it's pretty neat. This is what you want at home, maybe. A whole room just for VR. Unfortunately, we don't have enough space. Okay, we have a maker space as well. Who likes to make things? We've got, yeah, it's cool. You can see there's all sorts of stuff you can use, and see somebody's obviously building something there. They have a lathe for metal stuff just around here. They have like 3D printers and all sorts of stuff. So you can do things and you can build things. People will, maybe if you're working on phone stuff, you could prototype it. Like this here's a Google Pixel phone. So we make, oh, Google, I'm not talking to you. It's listening. Okay, so what I find is we want to do, when you're at Google, you want to do cool things, but that make a big difference for the world. So I'm going to show you a video in a second. So I'm going to do cool things that matter. Let's show this. Let's see if it starts playing. I'm going to click the button. And then we'll have a little quiz afterwards.
The actual moonshot is wonderful, inspirational, poetic, beautiful, involved great technical challenges, genuine heroism. It brought the world together. But think about the Polynesian island on the dugout canoe, deciding one day they were going to go that way. No one had ever been that way before. No one even knew if there was anything that way before. It was amazing, and it changed the world.
People can set their minds to magical, seemingly impossible ideas, and then through science and technology bring them to reality. And that then sets other people on fire, that other things that look impossible might be accomplishable.
Galileo is such a hero, you know, in thinking big, and what he represents to me is both curiosity and wonder that humanity had, that pushed him and drove himself to invent and work on the first telescopes that allowed us to see the moon, and here we are.
These aviation pioneers were figuring it out as they went. No one really knew how to build an airplane, right? No one knew how to fly an airplane. It was amazing and crazy and wonderful, and they wanted to explore.
Many years ago, the great British explorer George Mallory, who was to die on Mount Everest, was asked why did he want to climb it. He said because it is there.
There's so many challenges in the world, and you can feel daunted by that, you know, and sort of oppressed by that, or you kind of say, how might we think differently about this?
Everyone else in the world is working on the next 10%. If you can be the one that delivers that 10 times improvement, you have a chance to really change things.
If you want cars to run at 50 miles per gallon, fine, you can retool your car a little bit. But if I tell you it has to run on a gallon of gas for 500 miles, you have to start over.
You need a lot of courage in this work, and you need a lot of persistence. One of the things that's really critical is not only have the courage to keep trying every day or thinking big, even if you don't really 100% believe it's possible, like you might think, this might be possible, have the courage to try. That's how the greatest things have happened.
You don't spend your time being bothered that you can't teleport from here to Japan, because there's a part of you that thinks it's impossible. Moonshot thinking is choosing to be bothered by that.
We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard.
Humanity's progress has been a series of amazing, audacious things, from the very small and personal up to the great, big, and grand. And we are a species of moonshots. And to me, that's like the really amazing, poetic, and inspirational thing.
I think our ambitions are a glass ceiling on what we can accomplish.
When you find your passion, you're unstoppable. You can make amazing things happen. It's been true through all of history.
I believe in the human spirit, and I believe that there are always going to be crazy people who will get out of bed one morning and say, you know what? I think I can build a space elevator, and we'll still do it. But I think that if we become afraid to take these great big risks, we stop inspiring people. We stop achieving things. And the biggest nightmare scenario is that we won't have what it takes to solve the really big challenges.
When it Kennedy said that we would put a man on the moon, it's about the fact that he said, we don't know how to do this yet, and we're gonna do it anyway. And that sends chills up everybody's spine. Because if that happens, what couldn't we do?
So what did you guys think from that video? Is there anything that you got out of that that was interesting?
It's quite inspirational.
Yeah, that's good. That's what we want to do.
Anyone can like create ideas, and like we are the ones that are going to change the world.
I love that. That's awesome.
Like,
Yeah.
it's just like, it's like saying that you can do anything as long as you want to. Kind of, like if you put enough time and effort into it, you can try anything.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I also like when she said, when you find your passion, you can achieve a lot. Like when you find something that you love to do, you can get a lot more done with it.
It makes a big difference, doesn't it? Yeah. These are all awesome, guys.
There's no limits where technology can go except for like stuff that is quite literally impossible. Like,
Yeah, and the question, what is impossible?
Like teleporting is impossible because like you cannot.
How do you know that's impossible?
Because you cannot disappear someone's thin air. Can you?
That's a really good question, and these are the questions people ask.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I quite like how it's like, even if you think something is impossible and unable to happen, I like how it more says to keep that in your mind other than discard it, and how you can still go through with it.
Those are all awesome ideas. I'm quite impressed, actually. I like that. It's what this is kind of, at Google we say we have what they call 10x thinking, which is when you're trying to think of something, don't think of just improving a little bit, but how could I make it 10 times better? One thing he mentioned, that if you had a car and you wanted it to make it go further on petrol, so maybe you wanted to go 10% better, but what if you could make it go 100 times better? You would think about things differently. And so at Google, a lot of these things, like they want, every time I say Google, my phone beeps and asks me what I want. So we want you to think differently. We want you to do things differently. Think like the Polynesian explorers. They started with that right at the very beginning. They found New Zealand. Do you think they knew New Zealand was here?
It was by being courageous.
Yeah. They were super smart and they could navigate, and they knew if they went one way they could get themselves back, or maybe they could get themselves back. But the Polynesians were some of the best navigators in the world, and they went out with a dream, really, and thinking they would find other places.
They believed that they could make their dreams come true, finding a new land, and like not giving up and just saying, we'll stay on this tiny island.
Yeah.
No matter if we die here.
Exactly, and there's lots of cool things. You mentioned self-driving cars at the beginning.
Yeah. Google
has something called Waymo, which is self-driving cars. We have all sorts of other projects like this that they're doing. What we want you to do is, as you go to, and you're talking to people, when you're in Silicon Valley doing that trip, think of really big ideas. These things you're talking about. What is something that may seem impossible but you could do? Or maybe you can't do it. You might fail. But fail is all right. And that's what they say in Google. We have to be afraid to fail as well. I'm afraid to fail. Don't be afraid to fail. Because if you're afraid, you probably won't try. So try the big ideas. Think about it really hard and what you want to do. And I really like this video because it's inspiring. And I remember when the space shuttles used to be flying up, I used to love that kind of stuff. Or it was before me when they went to the moon. But that was big ideas that we wanted to do. So as you go, as you're talking, think of big ideas and think of how you can change things. Because you definitely can. And you might not succeed all the time, but you can do it. And that's really what working at Google is about. They want us to do, have big ideas and think about it. So have you got any questions you think you might ask when you're there? Because you're going to see all sorts of different people. You'll have a look around the Google, we call it campus there. Maybe if I put it...
Options. The first is a UT North Campus at 90 Akaranga Drive.
I don't know what it's thinking. We'll put that upside down. Maybe it'll stop listening to me.
You said when you work at Google, you had 20 minutes to work on what you want to work on.
Yeah.
What about the rest of the time? What are you working on?
So it's 20%, which is 1 day a week. So it's a bit more than 20%. But so the rest of the time you have your jobs that you're working on. So for me,
How many jobs are there in Google?
it's a good question. So there's 109,000 people. I would guess there could easily be over 1,000 different jobs for all different things, from software developers, so people who have gone in and learned how to do programming and build that kind of stuff, to people who are coming up with the ideas, or people, the two people who were from Northcote Intermediate that you'll talk to, one builds hardware, like this kind of stuff. I don't know if it's exactly this, but they make hardware, Chromecasts maybe, or other stuff. And the other one is a software developer, so there's that type of thing, but there's lots of different jobs. It's almost unlimited. It's hard to kind of list them all, but there were some that we showed there, but there are lots and lots that you can ask. So ask them the different types of jobs, and maybe there's something you're interested in. Like we have, you think of all the different jobs that are at YouTube that we have, just in YouTube, and then there's all the others as well.
What do you reckon the majority of people do that work for Google? Do you reckon there's mostly web designers or like software developers, or just
So number one would be software developers. And then we also have a lot of people who make sure everything runs properly, and we call them SREs. But they do kind of the testing and make sure everything works. So when you go to type in Google, they make sure it actually happens and it's fast and that kind of stuff. There's a lot of those people as well. But software developers would be number one, I think.
Do you mind me asking, what are you working on for your 20%?
That's a good question. I actually don't have something right at the moment for my 20%.
What are you doing with that 20 minutes then?
I do all sorts of random things on here. That's part of my extra things. Sometimes I work with universities, so I go to like Auckland University and I talk to students and help out with that kind of stuff. It could be anything. It could be a big idea or a little one as well. So most of mine is helping out other universities and that type of stuff at the moment. But it's good. It's a good thing. I've been working at Google for 1 year now. Before that I worked at Amazon for 4 years and then Microsoft for a whole bunch of years. So yeah, I need to come up with something. You should ask. That's a really good question though. Ask people if what they're doing for their 20%. Say you've heard about 20% projects and ask them.
So do you like always, when you work like at Google, do you always go to the office, or do you sometimes work from home? Like,
I work from lots of different places. So this morning I was working from home. I go into the office sometimes. You can work from anywhere. You don't have to go into the office. So I probably work, I don't know, 1 to 2 days a week at home. And sometimes I have to get Abby out of the office because she likes my big monitor that I have in there to play Roblox on. Abby. So yeah, and sometimes I work in different places. Next week I'm going to be in Sydney working, and then the week after that I'll be in Sydney again. So I'll go and visit some people in Sydney, or I'm at somewhere like Air New Zealand, or those kind of places I could go work there. I worked in Wellington sometimes, so lots of places. So I'm probably only in the office 2 days a week.
Where is the biggest Google office you've worked at?
So that would be where you're going, Silicon Valley. Now, it's pretty amazing if you go and see how big. Let me show you something actually. Well, the screen has gone off. Let me do that.
What do you do for Air New Zealand?
So I guess my job is, I mentioned, where I work with companies. So I work for something called Google Cloud. That's a different part. It's not like Google Search or anything. And if you think of all the companies that are building all their own stuff, like Air New Zealand, you go to Air New Zealand's website and you go to book a flight, they have lots of computers in the background that run that. What I do is I look after, or Google runs that so that those guys don't have to. So we're what they call have you heard of the cloud?
Yeah.
That's what I work in. And so there's a few big ones. There's Microsoft, Amazon, and Google.
So you work in the sky?
In the sky. Yeah, that's what I tell Abby where I work.
I have a question. Do the files really get transferred into the sky, or do they just like stay there?
No, the cloud, they go, when you save some files, they could go anywhere. They go into a big data center that we have, and it could be in America, or it could be in Australia, it depends where you are. But they're saved there, and they're very safe as well.
do you know what the biggest server you would have? Like how many?
It's a really good question. They have large servers, but they don't really go for big. Instead, we have lots. Like, think of a data center with 1 million servers in there. So it's not one really big one, but lots of little ones that work together.
So they're like based out in different countries, so like the best connection.
Yeah, all over the world. So they could be, there's some in Australia, Japan, Singapore, the US, or Europe.
I've seen videos about how Google lays down some like internet lines under the thing. So is that like another way of like how they? Like,
yeah. So how much? So you think of all the traffic. Think of all the people using the internet all the time. Google has their own cables that go under all the oceans, and they have enough of that. They could have everyone's internet traffic all running on Google, and it would work. It would still have enough. And at the moment, at any one time, about 30% of all internet is on Google.
Is that why it's like so much faster than like Bing or something?
Yes, Bing is exactly right. So Microsoft's one, but yes, they have a lot of their own infrastructure and their cables and their data centers. So yes, and those are jobs other people can do. They look after those. They help put in the cables. They design all the lasers and stuff that work with that. So there's lots of jobs.
Are the data centers located at the campuses and the like offices, or are they located elsewhere?
In other areas. Usually they put data centers where it costs less for power, or they tend to build them away from the main cities a lot of the time. Although they're in lots of different places. Sometimes they could be in a city. So there are many places. Lots of good questions.
Do you have more than one server room per office?
So offices have little tiny server rooms, but then everything else is in the really big ones that are in the cloud. So like in senior places.
Do you have a really big server room per Google office?
No, because New Zealand we have like 2 servers in ours probably, something like that. It's really small. And then we use ours out of Sydney or America. It doesn't really matter where they are because it just travels over the internet. So when you're on, so you guys use Gmail?
Yeah.
We use that in our office as well. So it's exactly the same. Or use Slides. So yeah. So we just use the same thing as you. We don't need, the thing with the cloud is you don't need to have those data centers anymore because they're really expensive. If you have one in the office, it costs a lot of money. So you just let Google do it for you.
How do you like communicate with like the center where they like stop hackers getting in and like getting all information of how it runs?
Yeah, how do I?
Yeah.
So I don't have to too much actually. They tend to do their job, and sometimes they will send out warnings to us. Like there was a big hack last year. That Google has a whole bunch of teams who discover this, and they sent it out to us to tell all the people that I work with that we'd already fixed the stuff before it was out. But yeah, we don't really communicate. Sometimes they send us messages.
So would you have like professional hackers that try hack it so that you can prevent that?
Yeah, they have specialists. So that's another job you could do at Google. You could be kind of like a hacker in a way, but we call them white hats. You've got black hats, so they are the baddies, is the way I put it, and the white are the people who do similar stuff, but they're good in their testing to make sure everything works. Lots of questions. You should ask these kind of questions when you're there as well. There were some good ones. I like some of the questions around this moonshot video. They were really great.
This might be a bit of an off-topic question. What kind of merchandise does Google
He's like,
well,
gift packaging over here.
Yeah, what kind of, we have pens, don't we, Bex?
You're very, very lucky that you'll all be leaving with a pen today.
Yeah, I had to go to the cupboard and I found a big thing of Google pens. So we have bottles like the one you've got there. I have a few of them in my desk. We have YouTubes. We call it swag. So you get some swag, and Abby's got some YouTube bottles. I managed to get some YouTube pens and stuff. At Google they have a little store where they have t-shirts and things like that as well. It could be cooler, but there are some stuff. You get Android t-shirts with a little Android guy on it. I've got to stop saying the word Google because she teaches. Yeah, so there is good stuff, but I reckon they could do a better job. We have t-shirts that say Kiora on the front. They only give this one though to people who work for Google New Zealand. So yeah, I've got one last thing for you guys. Let's see, it's a quiz. So I'm going to ask some of the questions I asked before again and see if you can get them. Do you remember how many employees we had? I'm going to ask somebody who hasn't asked the question before. Yes? Somebody who's paying attention. That's good. Okay. Do you remember how many countries we had? Or how many officers, I think? Who else hasn't asked the question? Alright, we'll go with you.
About 51.
I think it was 140 officers. That one's a harder one because I skipped past that. Where was Google founded?
In the garage.
Yep.
Wait, can I give a
YouTube lady?
Susan something?
Yeah, Susan, and it's W, I can't pronounce her surname. It's like, what was something? It's like Polish or Czech or something. Yeah, you. How did you know that? Good. Yep. Do you know who the founders of Google were? Just first names will do.
Is it Ian?
Yeah, that's awesome.
First one begins with L. Yep, Sergey. And the second one begins with L. Larry. Yeah, there we go. Okay. And the final one, which was the coolest thing you liked of all the Office stuff I showed you? That's not really a question, it's an opinion, isn't it?
Like the sleeping thing?
You like the sleeping pods? Yeah. What are we looking time-wise? Let's see, it's 12 o'clock already.
The VR room.
The VR room. I like the VR room. Some people love the music room as well.
I like the different workspaces that you can work at.
Yeah, that's good because you can just change it. Sometimes when you're at your desk, you just can't think. You can go off and find somewhere else and sit there.
Yeah, I was the same with Tony. I really like the workspaces that they give you
Yeah.
to like work with others.
Even though there wasn't a picture, the snack bar sounds.
Abby's got some pictures. I think she put them on her Instagram. Did you, Abby? She was very impressed. You liked the ramen noodles, didn't you, as well? They were pretty cool.
a bunch of like ramen and like the 4 to 5 minutes.
Would you, like, in some offices, would you have like stations that like have just like massive monitors that you can connect your laptops to?
Yeah. Yeah, so generally your desk you'll have, so I've got a 32-inch.
Is it like, do you is it like hot desking, or do you like?
That's your own. So everyone has their own desk, but you can go work in other places too.
This is a bit off topic, but do you like have really good powered PCs?
We have different ones. We have this is a Pixel book.
Yeah.
So I have two. I have this one, which I really like, which is a Chromebook, but it's a Google made one, and I have a MacBook as well.
Oh.
So you can choose. It's up to you to choose. They give you a whole bunch of options.
I'm not sure.
I've got to figure out how to turn her off when I'm talking. What's that?
Oh, power it off. Power off.
Ah, this is good. I need you guys here to solve all my problems for me.
Chuck it on the ground. Oh, power off.
There we go. Done. Thank you.
We could just